It started as one of those shifts that felt like it would be forgettable. I was driving nights in late 2022 around the outskirts of a coastal city in Southeast Asia, mostly picking up people from malls, small hotels, and the occasional roadside bar that stayed open too late for its own good. Nothing about that Friday stood out at first. The weather was humid, the streets were half empty, and I remember thinking I might actually get through the night without anything weird happening. That thought didn't last long. It was just past midnight when I dropped off a passenger near the bus terminal. I had barely shifted back into drive when my phone pinged again. New ride request. The pickup point was about 7 minutes away, outside a small cluster of closed shops near an old cinema that hadn't been in use for years. The rider name showed as Armon. Something about the location felt off, but not unusual enough to reject it. Late-night rides always had strange pickup points. I accepted and headed over. When I arrived, the area was almost completely dark. One flickering streetlight buzzed above a nearly empty parking strip. The old cinema building sat behind it like a dead block of concrete, its entrance sealed with rusted shutters and faded posters still clinging to the walls. And then, I saw him. A man standing near the edge of the lot, not moving. He looked tall, wearing a dark jacket even though the air was warm. His head was slightly tilted down, like he was staring at the ground instead of waiting for anything in particular. I rolled down my window a little. "Armand?" I called out. He didn't answer right away. He just nodded once, slowly, and walked toward the car. No rush, no hesitation, just a steady, quiet walk. He got into the back seat behind me without saying a word. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. I started the ride and checked the destination again. It was a residential address about 20 minutes away, somewhere on the edge of the city where newer houses slowly gave way to empty land and construction zones. I asked him, casually, if the location was correct. "Yeah," he said. His voice was low, flat, almost tired, but not in a normal way. After that, silence. Not the comfortable kind either, the kind that makes you notice every small sound in the car. The air conditioner clicking, the tires adjusting over uneven road. Even my own breathing started to feel too loud. I glanced at the rearview mirror once or twice. Each time he was just sitting there, looking straight ahead, not on his phone, not outside the window, just forward, like he was watching something that wasn't there. About 5 minutes in, I tried again. "Long night?" He paused before answering. "Just needed to get away," he said. "From where?" I asked, mostly out of habit. His response came almost immediately. "Doesn't matter." That ended the conversation. We kept driving. The roads got quieter the closer we got to the destination. Street lights became spaced farther apart. Houses became less frequent. The GPS kept recalculating slightly, like the signal wasn't strong out there. Around 15 minutes in, I noticed something odd. The drop-off point was not a house cluster like I expected. It was one specific address sitting alone on the map, surrounded by empty plots of land. No nearby shops, no neighbors, just one structure. And even before we reached it, I could already see it wasn't normal. The house was visible from a distance. Dark. No porch light, no movement inside. The structure looked older than the others around it, like it had been left behind while everything else was slowly built around it and then stopped. As we pulled closer, I slowed down slightly. That's when he finally moved. "Pull in there," he said, pointing at the driveway. I hesitated. The driveway was cracked, partially covered in weeds. The gate was open but rusted. No car, no sign of life, just a silent house sitting at the end of it. "You sure this is it?" I asked. "Just pull in," he repeated. Something about the way he said it made my stomach tighten a little, but I turned anyway. The tires rolled over uneven concrete as we entered the driveway. I stopped a few meters from the front of the house. The engine idled. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then I asked again, more carefully this time. "Everything okay?" He didn't look at me. "Wait here," he said. And then he opened the door and stepped out. He didn't go to the front door. That's what I noticed immediately. Instead of walking up the small steps leading to the entrance, he went around the side of the house, not rushing, not looking back, just disappearing along the wall like he knew exactly where he was going. And then I lost sight of him. The driveway felt too quiet. I sat there, unsure of what I was even supposed to do. Technically, the ride was still active, but nothing about this felt normal enough to just wait it out. 1 minute passed, then 2. No sign of him coming back. That's when I started thinking maybe I should just leave, end the trip, move on, forget it. But before I could decide properly, something made me pause. The side of the house was still dark, but I thought I saw movement again. He was coming back. Fast. And this time, he wasn't walking slowly anymore. He came back into view faster than before. At first, it looked like he was just walking quickly, but the closer he got to the car, the more I realized it wasn't normal urgency. It felt more like he had made a decision about something and was now fully committed to it. His hands were empty. No bag, no phone, nothing. And his face, I still remember that part clearly. It wasn't neutral anymore. It looked tense, almost sharpened, like he had switched from calm to something else entirely in a matter of minutes. I instinctively unlocked the doors, not because I wanted him back in, but because I didn't want him breaking a window or doing something worse out of panic. Late-night driving teaches you that sometimes compliance is safer than resistance. He opened the back door and got in. The second he sat down, I already felt the atmosphere in the car change. "Drive," he said. I glanced at him through the mirror. "Where?" He didn't answer directly. "Back to where you picked me up." That was a solid 20-minute drive in the opposite direction. I didn't argue, I just pulled out slowly and turned the car around. The silence on the way back was heavier than before. It wasn't just quiet now. It felt intentional, like he was thinking too much or not thinking at all. At one point, I tried to ease the tension. "You sure everything's okay?" He didn't look away from the road behind me. "Not yet," he said. That was it. No explanation, no follow-up, just those 2 words hanging in the air. The rest of the drive back felt longer than it should have. Every turn made the city feel more distant, like we were moving away from normal life and into somewhere that didn't have much activity at all. When we finally reached the old cinema area again, the same place where I had picked him up, I pulled over under the dim streetlight. I expected him to get out immediately. He didn't. Instead, he leaned forward slightly. There was something about the way he moved that made me tense again. Then he asked, very calmly, "Do you ever think about how it ends for you?" It caught me off guard. I let out a short, awkward laugh without meaning to. "Not really, no." He didn't react to that. No smile, no shift in expression. Just silence again. A few seconds passed. Then he spoke again. "I think about it a lot," he said. And then he finally leaned back. I didn't know what to say to that, so I just stayed quiet, gripping the steering wheel harder than I needed to. He opened the door slowly. This time, he didn't rush out. He stepped halfway out, then paused, one hand still on the door like he was deciding something in real time. Then he turned his head slightly toward me. "You picked the wrong one tonight," he said. For a moment, I didn't respond. My brain just stalled, trying to process whether that was a threat or something else entirely. Before I could say anything, he let go of the door, closed it properly, and walked away. Not toward the cinema, not toward any visible destination, just into the darkness behind it. I sat there for a long time after he disappeared, engines still running, staring at the empty space where he had been. Eventually, I drove off. The ride history showed as completed, but something felt off when I checked it again later that night. The passenger name wasn't there anymore. No profile, no photo, no record. Just an empty entry, like the ride had been scrubbed down to nothing. I contacted support the next day. They told me the system showed no active trip under that time window. No match, nothing they could retrieve. But I know what happened. I know he got in, I know he got out, and I know exactly what he said before he disappeared into that night. I just never found out what he meant by it. And I don't think I want to. This one happened in early 2023, when I was still doing night driving full-time in a mid-sized city in Eastern Europe. Winter nights there hit differently. Long, quiet, and empty enough that every car on the road feels like it shouldn't be there. I had just finished a drop-off near the train station and was already thinking about heading home. It was around 1:20 a.m., and most of the city had gone completely still. Then another request came in. Pick up a narrow residential street near an old industrial zone that had mostly shut down over the years. The kind of area where streetlights flicker and buildings look slightly forgotten. Passenger name? Nico. I accepted. It took about 10 minutes to reach the location. The closer I got, the more the surroundings changed from normal residential blocks to older buildings with peeling paint and empty sidewalks. When I arrived, there was no one standing directly at the pin, just a man a few meters away near the corner of a small fenced yard. He was wearing a dark hoodie with the hood up, hands tucked into his sleeves. He wasn't pacing or waiting like most passengers. He was just still, watching the ground. I rolled down my window slightly. "Nico?" I called. He didn't respond right away. Then he gave a small nod and walked toward the car. Something about the way he moved felt disconnected, like he wasn't fully focused on the act of getting in, just following a routine. He got into the back seat without saying anything. The door closed. The silence started immediately. I checked the destination on the app. It was about 25 minutes away, on the far side of the city, in a suburban area with larger houses and long, empty roads between them. I started driving. At first, I tried the usual small talk. "How's your night going?" No response. I glanced in the mirror. He was looking down at his hands now, holding something small. Maybe his phone, but I couldn't see the screen clearly. A few minutes passed like that, just engine noise and road lights passing in slow rhythm. Then I tried again. "You heading home?" He finally spoke. "Not exactly," he said. That was all. After that, he went quiet again. We were about halfway through the trip when I noticed something odd. He wasn't looking around at all, not at his windows, not at his phone, just sitting slightly forward like he was listening for something outside the car. Every time we passed a darker stretch of road, he seemed to tense slightly, then relax again when we got back under streetlights. I asked him once if everything was okay. He didn't answer immediately. Then he said, "Depends on if they're still there." I remember pausing for a second. "Who?" I asked. He didn't respond. Just silence again. The rest of the drive felt heavier after that. Not because anything was happening, but because it felt like something might. We eventually reached the suburban area. Bigger houses, long driveways, some lights on, most off. The GPS guided us to a house sitting slightly deeper than the others, at the end of a curved road. And it stood out immediately. No lights, no movement. Just a dark structure sitting under trees that blocked most of the streetlight. I slowed down as we approached. Nico leaned forward slightly. "This is it," he said. I pulled up in front of the house and stopped. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then I asked, "You sure?" He didn't answer. He just stared at the house. And then he reached for the door handle. He didn't open the door immediately. His hand stayed on the handle for a second longer than it should have, like he was checking something only he could feel. Then he stepped out into the cold air. The moment the door closed behind him, the silence inside the car felt different, heavier. Not just empty, but expectant. I stayed parked exactly where I was. The headlights were pointed straight at the house, washing the front wall in a weak yellow glow. He stood there for a moment without moving. No wave, no glance back. Then he walked up the driveway. Slow, steady steps. Not hesitant, but not normal either. Like he had done this walk many times before and wasn't expecting anything new from it. I watched him reach the front steps, and then he stopped. Just stood there. Not knocking, not searching for keys, nothing. After a few seconds, he turned his head slightly, like he was listening for something inside the house. I couldn't hear anything from where I was parked, just the low hum of the engine and the faint ticking sound of the cooling car. Then he did something that made me sit up a little straighter. He turned around and looked back at the car. Not directly at me, but in my direction. It felt like he was checking if I was still there. A moment later, he raised one hand slightly, not waving, just signaling like, wait. Then he walked around the side of the house and disappeared. Again. This was the second time I'd seen him do that same pattern. Walk in, vanish, come back with a completely different energy. It didn't make sense anymore, and I remember thinking I should just leave. But I didn't. Something about it felt unresolved, like leaving would make it worse somehow. So I stayed. 1 minute passed. Then 2. No movement. No sound. The house didn't show anything unusual either. No lights flicking on, no doors opening, nothing. Just darkness. I checked the app. The trip was still active. That made it even more uncomfortable because it felt like I was waiting for something that the system still expected to finish. At around the 3-minute mark, I saw movement again. He came back from the side of the house, but this time he wasn't walking calmly. He was faster, not running, but close enough that it made me tense immediately. And his posture had changed, shoulders slightly raised, head turning quickly like he was scanning the area around him. He came straight back to the car. I instinctively unlocked the doors without even thinking about it, not because I wanted him in, but because I didn't want him forcing his way in. He opened the back door and got in. The moment he sat down, he leaned forward. "Drive," he said. No greeting, no explanation, just that one word. I hesitated. Where to? He didn't answer directly. "Back to the city," he said. I shifted into drive and pulled away slowly. As we left the driveway, I glanced in the mirror. His eyes weren't on me anymore. They were fixed straight ahead, like he was trying to leave the entire place behind him as quickly as possible. The silence in the car changed again, but this time it wasn't calm silence. It felt tight, like something had been contained and now was barely staying contained. After a few minutes, I tried speaking. "You know, if something's wrong, you can just tell me where to drop you off properly. I don't have to take you anywhere else." He finally spoke again. "I just need to make sure they didn't follow me." That sentence sat in the car for a while. "Who exactly?" I asked carefully. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he leaned back and rubbed his face with his hands for a moment. Then he said, "My parents." I remember thinking that was strange because the house didn't look lived in. No signs of normal life, no lights, no cars, nothing. "So they're inside?" I asked carefully. He hesitated, then said, "They were." That wording didn't help at all. We kept driving. The city lights were getting closer again now, and I could feel the environment slowly shifting back to normal streets, traffic signals, and scattered late-night shops. But he didn't relax. If anything, he got more tense. At one point, he suddenly leaned forward. "Go back," he said. I looked at him in the mirror. "Where back?" "Back there," he said quickly. "I need to check again." I shook my head slightly. "I can't just turn around for that. You need to request a new ride or tell me properly what you need." He didn't respond for several seconds. Then he said something that made my grip tighten on the steering wheel. "They're still in there," he said quietly. I asked again, "Who is?" This time, he looked at me directly through the mirror and said, "They don't leave, no matter what I do." We drove in silence again after that. When we finally reached a busier part of the city, I pulled over near a well-lit intersection. I expected him to get out immediately, but instead, he stayed seated, just staring forward. After a long pause, I said, "This is a good place. You can get out here if you want." He didn't move. Then he said, almost like he was talking to himself, "It always feels like it's not finished." I didn't know what to say to that. A few seconds passed. Then he finally opened the door. But before stepping out, he leaned forward slightly and said something I still remember clearly. "If I come back, don't let me in." Then he got out. He closed the door gently, not slamming it, and stood there for a moment on the sidewalk, looking at the passing traffic like he didn't know where to go next. Then he walked away, into the crowd. I stayed there for a while before driving off. Later that night, I checked the trip in the app. It showed completed, but something felt off. The pickup location was still there, the drop-off was still there, but the ride details had no message history, no notes, and no way to view the passenger profile properly anymore. It looked incomplete in a way I can't really explain. I didn't report it right away. I told myself it was just a strange passenger and nothing more. But even now, I still think about that house and the way he looked back at it, like it wasn't just a place he left, but something he wasn't sure had actually stayed behind.